One of the most powerful tools that a photographer possesses is depth of field. What is depth of field? Depth of field is the distance in front of and behind the subject that appears to be in focus. At its two extremes, it is either shallow or deep. There are three factors that affect depth of field. 1, the focal length of the lens. 2, the camera to subject distance. And 3, the aperture size. Let's start with the focal length of a lens. Wide-angle lenses, 14 millimeters to 24 millimeters, have a deep depth of field. Normal lenses, 35 millimeters to 65 millimeters, have a normal depth of field. And telephoto lenses 85 millimeters and longer, have a shallow depth of field. The second factor that affects depth of field is the camera to subject distance. The closer the camera is to the subject, the shallower the depth of field will be. And the third factor affecting depth of field is the aperture. This is the most powerful advantage of a prime lens. The aperture is the opening in a lens through which light passes. The wider the aperture, the shorter the depth of field. And to increase depth of field, use a narrow aperture, a shorter focal length, and move away from your subject. To decrease depth of field, use a wider aperture, a longer focal length or a longer lens, and move closer to your subject. There are a number of reasons why you'd use a shallow depth of field. You can bring attention to your subject or a single element in the photograph. You can clean up a background that is visually distracting, or you can add circles of confusion to add color and pattern to your background. The options are limitless. For thestar.com, I'm Lucas Oleniuk.